What's going on, everybody? We are back. It's another brand new episode of Liam Picks Fights brought to you by PrizePicks. That's the easiest game in all of DFS. If you guys have never given it a shot before, no problem. Go ahead and check out the information. It's all in the description box below. What you need to know, it's the easiest game in all of DFS. You pick any prop projections that you want to target. It could be in MLB. It could be in NBA. It could be in the UFC this weekend. I have a couple PrizePicks looks myself for this UFC 275 card. So if you guys want to get involved, PrizePicks will deposit match you 100% up to $100 if you use my promo code Liam. So that helps me. It helps you. If you want to give it a shot, go ahead and do so. You guys can always hit me up with any questions you have about PrizePicks. You can find me everywhere at LiamPicksFights on social media. Get at me with any questions you have. Thank you guys very much for your consideration. With that being said, we've got a great guest. We've got an amazing card. I'm not going to dilly-dally at all. Going to bring in my man, Tim Troiano, to introduce him to the people. How you guys doing? And how's my man, Tim, doing?
What's up, Liam? Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Pleasure's all mine. And want to say shout out to all the people already rocking with us in the chat. I see my man Gramps, see Wiz, see Diehard MMA in here. MMA Bets New Zealand, Evan L. Appreciate all you guys. A lot of people that make it a point to come here every week. So thank you guys so much for your support. That being said, guys, first fight of the night, pretty interesting fight. We got Jocelyn Edwards. She's taking on Ramona Pascal. Fight got moved to 145 on relatively short notice here, Tim. Ramona Pascal basically called them 2 weeks ago and said, hey, I'm not going to make the weight. Like, what do you think? They said, we still want to do the fight. Let's do the fight at a different weight class. And I think that that's to her benefit. You know, she is the naturally bigger girl here. We've got a girl who's been fighting at 125, 135, fighting a girl who's been fighting 145 and 150. Why is this a compelling fight? Because one of these girls has, you know, a little bit more proven of a record, Jocelyn Edwards, but she's got a glaring hole in her game. She can't wrestle very well. She gets taken down by every attempt. And then you got Ramona Pascal, who really doesn't have a very developed game. But what she does have is takedowns and size. And in women's MMA, that could be enough. So this is a clear dog or pass situation for me. If this fight ends up on the feet, Ramona Pascal could definitely get knocked out. She has no striking defense. And her takedowns aren't very efficient. She doesn't do anything perfectly. But I do think she's got heart, will, tenacity, and size. And again, at plus 140, that would be the only side I'd consider. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, it's a pass from the money line perspective for me. As you know, I like to attack props a lot, and I don't hate the violence props on Edwards, especially. I think the sub might be live. She's gonna hunt for arm bars when she's on her back, and it's pretty much the only thing she'll go for. And I think, like, you know, I'll take a shot on 6-1 on sub for her. I think it's not a great like outcome, but 6-1 is a good line for that. I don't think Ramona's really that good. I think that she could also get KO'd if she doesn't have much success. So I don't mind the inside the distance props for Edwards, but I hate the money line for her. I just, like you said, it's kind of clear dog or pass if you're doing the money line, but I haven't attacked that at all.
Yeah, and the one thing about Ramona that I don't love is the fact that, you know, I find it harder to come up with her path to a finish here. It's definitely live that she could get a submission if she's the more potent ground player, but we have seen, you know, Jocelyn give up a lot of top time without getting submitted before. I don't think Ramona hits particularly hard, so I'm not sure that she's going to be able to get the ground and pound necessarily going. But again, it could be one of those stoppages where if you just give up too much top control and somebody's on top of you, just beating you up. An attritional type stoppage. So I think for DraftKings purposes, I definitely have a little bit of interest in the Ramona side here, but haven't gotten any bets yet personally, and might just let this fight pass me by. It's the first fight of the night. Underdog's been doing quite well in that position. And the last thing I'll mention on this fight is just that she is a Hong Kong native, I believe, and she definitely has more ties to the Singapore region, let's say, than a Jocelyn Edwards, who is literally the only Panamanian fighter on the roster, and I believe in UFC history. So she's kind of just like an anonymous like fighter that ended up on this card because she trains with the Shevchenko sisters, whereas Ramona Pascal at least has some regional connectivity here. So potentially they're trying to give her a winnable fight in a region of the world that she may be recognized. With that being said, we can move on to another fight where we've got Liang representing China taking on Silvana Gomez Juarez. She's fighting out of Argentina. So far, not so good in the UFC. 2 up, 2 down, first round submission losses, both by armbar. and she's taking on a girl who basically is just going to look for a first-round armbar. So that sounds like a negative EV situation. But with that being said, on the feet, this is not a close fight, I don't think. Na Liang is not very competent. She does not have good defense, and she doesn't have very good cardio. But again, she's just a style nightmare in the sense that she's going to pursue takedowns aggressively. That's almost a certainty. And if she does do that, I don't see why she's not going to get them here, because we've seen Silvana Gomez-Juarez, not elite takedown defense, older for the division. Don't think she's going to shore that up now at this point in her career. So it's really a fight where I feel like Gomez-Juarez has a narrow path to victory, but she could look like a minus 300 favorite if she just knocks her out in the first round, or if she survives that first round onslaught. So I haven't played anything on this fight. This line got crushed. She got bet down to like plus 105. It seems like market wide now. So yeah, for me, it kind of was just like the ship has sailed on the side I wanted to be on. Maybe a round one sub prop tomorrow if the price is right. I don't know why, Tim. You know more about the prop pricing than I do, but this is a fight that they just haven't priced out props on for whatever reason. So probably because they know that everybody's going to be looking at target that same one I'm talking about. So how about you, man? You feel the same way as me?
Yeah, I totally do. I see it. Fight doesn't start round 3. Like as soon as FanDuel comes out, I think DK has some of them out for this one. Sub 1 on FanDuel, I think, was like not FanDuel, on DK was like plus 320 or something like that, somewhere around that region. And then I don't mind like the KO1 or KO2 for Silvana here. I mean, she clearly could kill her. I mean, the fact that she knocks down Demopoulos and then goes straight into guard, and you're just like, oh, she's the dumbest person in the world. So yeah, I mean, I like violence in this fight. I like doesn't start round 3. I mean, how often do you get into women's MMA that's under 1.5? But I mean, they know what they're doing. This is one of those situations where I like the sub 1 and then KO1, KO2 for Silvana.
Makes perfect sense to me, man. And I do think that that's kind of like the way to target this fight, is almost to look at the prop perspective. Just because there's not a ton of value to be extracted on either side on the money line here. As far as I'm concerned, paying chalk, not something I'm interested in doing in a fight that's this low level, excuse me. And then on top of that, Na Liang, maybe at a plus 150, you're like, oh, she has no cardio, but she's got this clear path. At plus 110, it's just like, do I really want a coin flip on somebody with no cardio? I don't think so. So I'm probably just going to let this one go by me. But shout out all my Na Liang backers out there. If the day is going right, if we're feeling good coming into the card, maybe we get to that round 1 sub prop. That being said, folks, we've got a fight that, again, I was definitely tempted by the underdog side here, but have not gotten to the window quite yet. And I was in person, watched my man Dana Batgerel while I was yelling. I was the Mongolian contingency there in Columbus, Ohio, shouting Batgari as he's dominating in round 1. And then my boy gets shut off, of course, because I did not win a single bet that night at UFC Columbus. So that was par for the course. And I think that was the kind of fight that at least gave us some excitement, some dollar value for the show, because it was a beautiful knockout. It was absolutely the most spectacular finish on the card. And he's making a very quick turnaround here, Dana Batgerel. And I don't know that this is a great stylistic matchup for him. That's what concerns me here. I think if he was making a quick turnaround against some guy who's just going to stand in front of him on the feet, that would be okay. But I think if Kyung Ho Kang is smart here, or if he gets hit really hard early, he's going to start wrestling like a motherfucker. And if he does that, I don't see why he shouldn't be able to get on top of him. Dana Batgerel hasn't really been tested in the wrestling very much, but he's a little bit older. He's a prospect in the division. The last time his wrestling was tested in the UFC, Haile Alatang took him down several times without a tremendous amount of resistance. He's not a great wrestler. He's not a bad wrestler. That is what he brings to the table, but he's not extremely physical. He's not a very large bantamweight either. So I think that Kyung Ho Kang, he seems like a kind of guy who might be able to get some takedowns in this spot. Seems like a guy who's certainly going to be the better grappler on paper. And then on top of that, I don't think he's just going to get run away, like beat down on the feet. Batgerel doesn't throw at a huge volume. Kyung Ho Kang doesn't throw at a huge volume. Batgerel clearly is the more powerful striker. But Kyung Ho Kang can crack a little bit too. And he has been, hit and hurt in some of his fights, but he's really hard to put away. And he's kind of like one of these guys who will latch a hold of you if you start hurting him bad and make it very difficult to get off shots on him. So I think Kyung Ho Kang is an interesting underdog here. But again, it's the kind of thing where, that number's kind of getting away from me. Market's getting hip to it and think this fight might close at pick'em. How about you, Tim? What do you think?
Yeah, I have no bets on this one either. I really do like the prop on the points and the split decision for Kang. I love shooting darts at split decision props. I can see him getting like dropped. I don't like see him like getting knocked out, but I could see him early like getting dropped or losing the first round and then having to make a comeback. Maybe in the middle of the second round, he starts doing what you're saying and starts to make it an ugly fight. And he fights really close. He has a lot of fights that have gone to split decision. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like 10-1 for split decision and 2-1 on points for him. So I like taking those kind of shots. And, it's definitely one of those situations where I think Dana's power is there always. And he can really hurt you with one shot. So he could steal around, but even though he's low volume. So I don't mind the points on Kang and I don't mind the split decision shot.
Yeah, man, I would tend to agree on all fronts here. I think that this is definitely a split decision kind of fight. You look at Kyung Ho Kang, he's a split decision kind of fighter. Even in the fights that he wins, he doesn't tend to run away with it. He tends to fight close, 29-28s that could go either way. But because he's got the grappling upside, because he's the one who'll mix up his game a little bit more than his opponents, he tends to get those wins in close fights in those narrow split decision type territory.
Do you think the sub is live in this fight or no?
I do. And just because how good is Dana Batgerel at grappling? I have no idea. Haile Alatank's not very good at grappling. He was able to take him down, wasn't really able to progress very much, but held some time on top. And I don't think he's a great top position grappler either. So I think it's certainly a live possibility, but the physicality is what makes me think he might be able to survive. It's just hard to get a hold of somebody that's really strong and a good athlete like that. So I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think especially as the fight goes on, it becomes more live. Where Kyung Ho Kang, he doesn't have great cardio, but if he's able to get to those positions when Batgerel is not explosive, I think that might pay dividends for him down the stretch. But yeah, shout out my man Gramps here. Says Kang over 1.5 takedowns on PrizePicks. Gramps, you just hit it, man. That is one of the plays that I was on this week. Simple explanation. This guy can easily get 2 or 3 takedowns. He's proven that in his UFC career. He can go out there and do that. Dana Batgerel, when he's faced resistance, when he's had people try and take him down, he's given up 3 or 4 takedowns. So it's like, that's the kind of thing that I want to play into. Maybe he goes out there and gets starched in the first minute. That's the kind of outcome where you're like, throw up your hands. But outside of that, I think Kyung Ho Kang at a loss gets 2 takedowns here, more often than not. Because if he's getting starched on the feet, if he's getting lit up, the guy is going to shoot takedowns in that scenario. We have seen that from him in the past. Even when he's not supposed to shoot takedowns, sometimes this guy Kyung Ho Kang will start grappling anyway. So I think that there's a good chance that he will get over that hump for you on PrizePicks. And I have some exposure myself. With that being said, we can move along to a fight here at middleweight. I'm not thrilled about this fight. I think that initially I had some urge to fade Brendan Allen because I'm always, down. But I think in this case, I'm probably just going to let this fight go by me as well. I could see Jacob Malcoon getting takedowns in this fight. I could see him outlasting Brendan Allen, actually. I saw somebody say, like, ultimate lock to me on Twitter was, like, under 3 takedowns for Malcoon. And I was like, I mean, like, I wouldn't want to have that in my PrizePicks. It's not to say it's not going to hit, but just, like, as a lock, like, you're sure that Brendan Allen's going to defend takedowns? It's like, that I'm not sure about. I think that he is probably the better grappler of the two when fresh, but I have questions about how long he can grapple for in a fight. I think that when I look back at Brendan Allen, he strikes me as like a banana peel waiting to happen. It did not surprise me when he lost that fight to Chris Curtis. What made me sick was that I had a bet on Chris Curtis to win by knockout, and I cashed it out, and I bet on fight ends by knockout instead at a much lower plus money indication. Sickening. Absolutely sickening, Tim. So I think that this is a guy that I'm looking to get on the other side of. Malcoon just might not be the right guy. He really has plus level skills in no area of MMA. He just really can put on a good pace. He's got cardio. that's fine. It's like fair. It's not even like elite cardio. So I think that at the end of the day, Jacob Malcoon is kind of just like unmolded clay. I think that he could win this fight by sheer like force of will if he's around after 7.5 minutes. But if he gets lit up on the feet, that's not going to surprise me. I don't think he's very confident or comfortable in those positions. So I could see him getting knocked out here. I think Brendan Allen is clearly the better striker. But if Brendan Allen gets knocked out by a counter punch from somebody like Jacob Malcoon, I'll just laugh. I won't lose $1 on it. I know that for sure. And I'll just laugh if that happens. Tim, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that if you're on Malcoon, it just doesn't make any sense to like bet. I would bet him by points, or I would bet him by split decision. Same kind of deal. Like if he's going to win, it's going to be some greasy, like same thing, like gets 3 or 4 takedowns and has to keep just grinding. He doesn't do very much damage. I had his sub prop in his last fight, and I was just screaming at the TV, just please do something aggressive. And he just never does. I'm with you. I think Allen is just such a scary guy to bet at a heavy juice. And he's always in these situations where he's kind of these minus 250 to 300 mark. And you're like, ugh. So money line is just, it's unplayable for me. But at the same time, like I do think he's going to get him out. I think he's going to knock him out most likely. He could sub him too. But I feel like he's going to knock him out in the first or second round, most likely. And I mean, Malcoon's not really great. I mean, like the guys that he's grinding on are just they're so matched up. It's like a perfect matchups for him. And he also didn't do well.
You mean Razak the GOAT?
Yeah,
that guy's the GOAT, dude.
Yeah, it's just guys. He's the perfect matchups for him, and I just don't think this is a good matchup for him. I think maybe the only area he's better is wrestling and maybe cardio. But it's just, yeah, I think the jiu-jitsu is going to be something he's got to worry about if he's going for some kind of single leg and he's lazy at all. Like he could easily get, gillied. So yeah, like inside the distance for Brendan Allen and KO.
Yeah, and that's my man Wiz is on the same thing. Somebody, my man Bout Better is asking what Allen's jiu-jitsu is like. He's a black belt. He is good at jiu-jitsu. I just think that he's kind of like loosey-goosey in just how he approaches fighting overall. I think that's the reason why he's been knocked out a couple times. He's overconfident for sure. I think that's bit him several times. And I think that for me, yes, it's a fight that he should win. But again, like I'm just not everybody else take the free money. Take the free money on Brendan Allen. I will not. And if it all goes sour, don't come back and look at me, because I'm just saying I think this guy will lose another fight as a minus 300 favorite in the UFC. And I'll leave it there. That being said, guys, we can move on to a fight that I have less and less interest in betting the more I look into it. Both of these guys are pretty suspect in this spot. You have Steve Garcia on the one hand. I bet him bigly every way you can imagine against Charlie Ontiveros. I had him inside the distance. I had him by knockout. I had him, I think, in round 1. I just had every Garcia prop. And then I had 3 units on the money line. And he was out there trying to blow it for me, trying to blow the bag. And I was like, please stop. Please stop, Steve. Just do the damn thing and take this guy down like we practiced. And when he did that, it looked like an easy win. But he didn't do that until he had already put himself on Dream Street a handful of times. So I'm not trusting Steve Garcia in this spot. I don't think Maheshate is very good, but I do think that Steve Garcia is playing bad, and his chin is a liability in future fights. That being said, being green is a real thing. Being from a bad regional is a real thing. And while I'm grateful for Maheshate cashing me these glorious tickets on the Contender Series, which he did, I have some doubts about how he's going to perform here. And, even good fighters underperform sometimes in the UFC debut. Steve Garcia has been here, done that, fought through some adversity in the UFC. So for all those reasons, I can understand why he's a slight favorite here. I think the line might be a little bit wide, even though Maheshate is not very good. I just think that he could definitely catch Steve Garcia. If Steve Garcia gets knocked out in the first round, I'm not going to be surprised. If Steve Garcia gets out-physicaled by this guy, that won't surprise me either. This is a guy who used to fight at 35, 45. Now he's fighting at 155 pounds against a big 55er, young 55er who's going to be strong. But I don't think Maheshate is a lock. I don't think he is reliable. I don't think I could put a big investment behind this kid. I think he's too green for all that. So if I get to a play on this fight, it's probably a small play on the underdog here. It might be a small play on a round 1 knockout prop or something for Maheshate, but really it's probably a fight that I'll end up passing on. Tim, how about you, my man?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not going to touch this fight at all. I don't even want to touch the props. Too many outcomes that could really happen. I mean, gun to head, I think Garcia wins, but I don't want to really touch this one that much. Like you said, I mean, Maheshate goes from being like a plus 500 in the Dana White Contender Series to a guy who's also not really good. And then he's like now plus 160 or plus 170, something like that. Like, no thanks. It's not enough. Maybe, I mean, what do you think as the fight goes versus if you're just doing time props, what would you guess on this one? You think unders fight doesn't go?
So if I had to guess, this fight doesn't go to decision on either side. That being said, though, like I could definitely see a world in which Steve Garcia just rides out 15 minutes on top of this kid, and Maheshate is just like tough and like able to take an ass whipping, but not able to get up. I could definitely see that happening because sometimes we just see these it reminds me of almost like a Hu Yaozong who he looked okay. He just didn't have a lot of fights, and it looked like he physically came in good shape. Skills just weren't there, and in a fight that was kind of winnable at points, he just had nothing to offer really from a skill perspective, wasn't able to make explosive movements back to his feet. And when he was just taken right back down. So I could definitely see that happening again here. You don't like to make broad generalizations about groups of people. That's not what I'm trying to do. But about regions where people are doing MMA, you can start to make pattern recognition. You see people come in from Alaska FC. They tend not to do very well. Doesn't mean you auto fade Alaska FC, just means you take that under consideration. How do people from this area perform? CFFC does quite well in the UFC. You want to track that. How about, the Asian regional scene, WLF Wars? I think Zhang Weili fought on that regional scene. Outside of that, very few, highly talented UFC prospects have come from that region. So it's not to say that Maheshate is not the next guy, but you have to have, a little bit of hesitancy when saying this. I'm definitely going to bank on this guy to have some grappling success or whatever. Maybe at a different level, but at this UFC level, that's very questionable. And certainly on paper, Steve Garcia has a better resume. There's literally no two ways about that. He's got wins over credible UFC guys, but all his wins are down at 35 and 45 over the relevant guys, at least. And he's had some sketchy moments up at 55. So I think he could definitely win this fight, but I'm not banking my money on Steve Garcia as a favorite again, unless we just get another warm body with really nothing to offer. And I think Maheshate, because of his youth, because of his persistence and his aggression, I think he should at least make it a fight, unless he's getting taken down. That being said, my man, we can move along. We got another great fight here. This one's in the featherweight division. Fight I'm much more excited about. We've got Josh Culibao, a guy who I believe has been slept on in the UFC. Not to say he's a great fighter, not to say he's knocking down the door of the 145-pound division, but got to give credit where it's due, right? I don't think anybody gave him credit going into that Charles Jourdain fight. I thought he looked pretty good on paper. I thought he looked like a decent enough fighter. I thought he was going to offer problems to Jourdain in that fight. Goes out there, fights for a draw, scores a knockdown. This guy has a 1-0 knockdown ratio in the UFC. He was finished by strikes, but that was against Jalen Turner, massive individual for 155. This guy is fighting at 145 typically. So Josh Culibao basically went in there on a no-win mission, and he got absolutely killed. That's fair. I understand that. Then he goes out there. He has a more realistic opportunity against a tough guy, against a guy that most people don't want to sign to fight, by the way, in the 45-pound division, not right now. He goes out there, gives an honest account, fights to a draw. So then he goes out there, he's a big favorite, and he gets the job done. Why does nobody want to bet on Josh Culibao in this spot? Because if you go back and you look at his record, he's 1-1-1. Okay, nothing really stands out about that. The guy he beat is a bum, or he's not very good. Shah Yilan is not a UFC-tested guy. Okay, so then what do I know about Josh Culibao? Basically, he hasn't returned me $1 if I bet on him in these fights. And I did bet on him, didn't return me $1, got my money back at least. That was nice. But, if you have been backing this guy, you've gotten no reward, no satisfaction. Sung Woo Choi, a lot of people feel snake bitten by that last result. Oh, he was looking so good. He was dominating, and then he gets finished. So, call it a wash. I don't know about all that. It's like I have to start looking at Sung Woo Choi's career as a pattern, as a pattern of mistakes and failures. And that's not to say that he can't learn from it. It's not to say he can't make improvements. He's still a young guy. They're both young guys, but you got Sung Woo Choi here, who's kind of had the start-stop promotional deal go a couple times for him now. And he's lost wrestling-based decisions to the Gavin Tuckers of the world. Somebody who's very small, really, truly small for the featherweight division. You got somebody, the Mokhtarian win. What do I take from that? How do I feel about that? He knocked out Julian Erosa in the first round. That's how you beat Julian Erosa. You knock him out in the first round. Otherwise, it becomes a very difficult fight. Ask Charles Jourdain. So it's like, I think these are kind of, the wins that he can get. He's got power, he's got decent striking. He's got good, fast hands, good mechanics. Nothing wrong with what he's doing on the feet, but he leaves himself open. He's been cracked on the feet too. He doesn't have perfect defense. He's going to go against a guy who's got a decent amount of power here in Josh Culibao. And then from a wrestling and grappling perspective, Sung Woo Choi is suspect. There's just no two ways about that. Gavin Tucker, I like him a lot, but he's a tiny 45er, and he out-wrestled him pretty comprehensively over the course of 15 minutes. Won an easy decision there. The other win for him is Yusuf Zalal, not with the UFC anymore. Was able to create some challenges for him in the wrestling and grappling in that fight, just wasn't able to get off on it consistently, so he lost the fight. But he kept it competitive in the striking too, landed a couple shots that made Choi back up. So I was like, he's minus 245 after just fumbling the bag in the last one as a big favorite. It's like, for me, there's just too many reasons to not be on the Choi side here. I think, when people are looking for parlay fodder tomorrow, he's going to go in. He's going to look the part, and he very well could win this fight. But I have no reason to believe that Josh Culibao has a suspect chin. The guy's willing to go out there and fight and throw down. And I think he's going to give me an honest 15-minute effort and compete in every range of the fight. So I think if this fight takes place on the feet, it looks more like minus 150 Sung Woo Choi. I think either one of these guys could hurt each other. But I think we see a close competitive decision where Culibao might have the better cardio down the stretch. Culibao might be able to get off on some grappling success. I believe he's a BJJ purple belt as well. So, I ended up taking a shot on Josh Culibao here at plus 195. I think that he's a live underdog here. How do you feel, Tim?
No, I like what you're saying, especially about Choi. Culibao is like, it's kind of weird. It's like, if he's going to grapple and he's going to, it's just weird. I just don't think he's going to have much success doing it. He hasn't had much success doing that. But at the same time, I think he's more live on the feet than people think he is. I do think that Choi is better than him, like a little bit better than him on the feet and a little bit better just in general. And I understand, him being a slight favorite in this situation, but if you're getting the line that you're getting right now, the money line, it's a dog or pass. But I like the props for Choi. I'll take the props, the split decision and the points for him. I don't mind that. And the split decision for Culibao is really good too. So it's like 1,400 on the Culibao, 800 on Sung Woo Choi, and then plus I think like 200 for Choi by points. I do think he ekes out a decision. And I think that if he doesn't, I think Culibao ekes out a decision as well. So pretty close fight.
I like it. And neither one of these guys has super suspect durability. So I could definitely see it making the decision. I could see a 2 knockdown fight. Both guys go down at various points here. They both swing hard. And I think they're both pretty willing to exchange in the pocket. So that could go one of two ways. Somebody might get nuked here. Somebody might, be able to outlast the other in some of those competitive exchanges. Interested to see who that will be in the end. With that being said, though, we can move along here. We got another great fight coming up at the 170-pound class, and I do have a bet on this one as well. So I'm going to kick this one off to you first, my man, and I'll close us out on it. But we got Jack Della Maddalena taking on Ramazan Emeev. How do you feel about this matchup, Tim?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think Jack's going to KO him in rounds 2 or 3. I just am not like, Emeev's going to have, he's got the EV and not the OV. If he had the OV, he could, at the end of the name, he could hold down guys and do a little bit better in getting the takedowns. But yeah, I just don't think that he's there's like certain guys where you just look at them and you just don't necessarily sense that when the fight is not going their way, that they're just absolutely still all in the fight, and they're like, how hard are they going to try when they know they're going to lose type of fighters. And he's just not the guy in that situation for me. And I think that Jack's a fighter that's going to put on a pace and is going to really put on some volume to every time he tries to come in and get some type of lazy takedown or whatever. He's going to get jabbed in the face. And anytime he gets within range, he's going to get jabbed. And I feel like after a little bit of time, you might see a little bit of him get discouraged. And I think as the fight goes on, I think Jack will be more and more live for KO. So I like KO 2-3 for Jack.
I love where your head's at, my man. And that makes me feel a lot better because I took some Jack Maddalena inside the distance here at plus 275. Listen, like, I think Ramazan Emeev, I could understand why people want to play him from a money line perspective. He is a step up in competition. I do believe that. I think that Jack, did show a little bit of grappling liability in his fight against Angelusa. By the way, I did bet Angelusa in that spot, but I was really impressed on the other side with Jack Della. I thought that he fought a composed game plan there, thought that he mostly was dominating. And I thought that overall he showed his composure. And when I look at this fight, what I see is Jack Della Maddalena as a guy who the UFC wants to build. He's a guy who's clearly marketable. He's got a fun fight style. He's going to come forward. He's going to swing leather. And I've seen his Australian regional tape. The guy's not afraid to get in a fight. The guy will get hit in the face and come back in fights. He will get into exchanges, brawls. He's been hurt, come back. He's been in bad grappling situations, come back. I just don't think you're going to break him easily from a mental perspective. I think he stays focused and within himself in a fight. And that's a problem against Ramazan Emeev, who's not very dangerous, right? You've seen 7 opportunities and 7 fights, I believe, have gone the distance with this guy. He's just not a very prolific finisher. He's not a very dangerous individual. He's got a, pretty meat and potatoes striking game. He's competent in the wrestling. He's competent in the control-based grappling. I don't think he's a very lethal submission threat at all. So I think that when I look at somebody like Angelusa, he's not as potent a grappler, period. But he's more likely to attempt submissions. He's more likely to threaten with them. I think that that's a big problem here, where Ramazan Emeev doesn't really have a lot to threaten and make Jack Della worried. He's probably just going to try and frustrate him with forward pressure and holding on to him and keep it close. So I think all of that makes him, a kind of a difficult person to look good against. But if anybody could, it's probably going to be somebody like Jack Della, who's going to throw a huge volume of strikes. Every time he gets separation, this guy's throwing at a very high clip. And I think he throws with good power. I think he throws with good composure. I think he takes different angles than a lot of guys. And I think he's got good body work. So I think he's going to mix in a high variety of strikes here. And I actually think his front headlock game is not bad. So, we've kind of seen Emeev used to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more tight in his grappling. He's kind of left some openings in recent fights. Guys have been, threatening him with submissions, trying to really test this guy's mettle. Danny Roberts hit him with some good hard shots. Nicholas Stolze hit him with a big knee up the middle. I don't think any of those guys really presented the same danger factor here. I think 90+% of Jack Della's wins are coming inside the distance here. So you're giving me the plus 270 on a guy to win inside the distance, but you're telling me he should be 60% on the money line. I mean, come on, I got to take that. He's a prolific finisher. He's going up against a guy who's tough, but who's showing kind of signs of deterioration, I would argue. I think Jack Della cleans him up, gets the job done. So I like Jack Della here to get the win. Just want to give a huge shout out to my man Daz with the dono. First dono of the stream. First dono, I believe, on the channel. So thank you so much, my man Daz. You're absolutely killing it, brother. Appreciate your support as always. That being said,
yes. Sorry, did you see the submission line? Because you were just talking about it. Did you see the submission line for Jack?
No, what's it at?
Plus 1,600. No joke, right?
Let me go search around the account, see if I got any free bets lying.
Yeah, he's gonna. I mean, like you said. I mean, he's gonna have opportunities to sink something in, initially while a takedown is coming in. like he'll have some opportunities. Whether or not he tries to actually defend the takedown or goes for Gilly, we'll see. But we're probably gonna, if we're on the violence, it's probably not the way that we want to see it. We'll probably rather have him just fight the takedown defense here.
Yes, sir. Let's go insta destruction. Jack Della on the feet. That's what I want. Keep it upright. Get this guy out of there in the first exchange. Except I know that you were mentioning rounds 2 and 3. So if you have that combo prop, let's wait till round 2 and then proceed accordingly. You hear me, Jack? Thank you very much. But with that being said, my man, we can move along. We got a fight here at 170 pounds. Everybody's favorite short notice fighter, Andre Fialho, back once again. And he's taking on Jake Matthews. And by everybody's favorite fighter, I should have said Jake Matthews. I mean, Jesus Christ, this week, who is not betting on Jake fucking Matthews? I mean, I don't even have a problem with that. I understand where they're coming from. But just like, if you wanted me to bet Jake Matthews, you shouldn't have all bet on him because now I can't. It's like, I just can't. How could I possibly bet on this guy when I can't find somebody that doesn't have a Jake Matthews ticket falling out of their pocket? So I've never met a bookmaker with a part-time job, right? It's very possible that this is the time that they all have to seek out, retirement or something. But I'm thinking to myself, what could go wrong? I don't like when everybody's on the same side as me. I don't like when everybody starts falling in line on somebody because it could mean one of two things. It could mean it was a completely mispriced fight and the other person should have been favored. And, maybe by tomorrow, Jake Matthews closes a favorite. Everybody that bet on him wipes their hands and says, hey, I did my job. Alonzo Menefield last week, huge market movement, huge correction. And it was right. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes they overcorrect and it's wrong. So for me, this is a really tricky one. But when I see everybody lining up on an underdog and I could still get plus money, I'm out. I hate to say. I do hate to say. So I wish everybody best of luck that's on this fight. I think in terms of a way to target this fight that's interesting to me, I kind of like that under 2.5 rounds here. When I look at this fight, I see two guys with a path to finish. Andre Fialho, say what you will about this guy. I really like Andre. I think he's fun. I think he's dangerous. I think he's the more exciting fighter of the two. Andre Fialho gets hurt like every third fight. The guy is a reckless brawler with his chin in the air. He likes to get in the pocket in exchange. On top of that, what about his opponent here? Jake Matthews, not very defensively sound on the feet, not a horrible striker, kind of getting better and more comfortable, knows a little bit more what he wants to do, but he's not all that dangerous. What he does have to offer, he's got submission threats, and he's going to try and grapple in this fight in all likelihood, especially if he has a brain. If he has two brain cells to rub together, he's going to be out here trying to grapple Andre Fialho, who does not grapple all that good. I think that creates a fun dynamic where either we see Jake Matthews try and fail to grapple and get frustrated and get hurt and get finished, or potentially conversely, we see Andre Fialho either getting out grappled and getting frustrated and giving up bad positions and getting finished, or he's rushing in, trying to get a hold of Jake Matthews, trying to find him, and he gets clipped with something big coming in, like he did against Cameron Van Camp, who everybody was saying is a bum and has no business in the UFC and blah, blah, blah. I didn't say necessarily all those things. I'd have to go back and check the record. Maybe I did. But either way, I'm saying I was looking at that fight and saying I'm not betting Fialho here. He's a huge favorite, but he's probably going to finish this guy early. That's exactly what happened. Fialho is extremely dangerous, very capable of finishing early. But I want to be on Fialho when he's a plus 270 dog against Michel Pereira, and we get to that close decision at the end where, he might have given himself an honest account. Not necessarily when he's a big favorite. But again, now we're seeing creeping in. It's like minus 130 now, minus 135. That's a much more appealing price than the minus 170 and minus 155 and whatever that we saw in Fialho earlier this week. So I think either guy could win this fight. If you're betting it saying, hey, I think it's a coin flip fight, Jake Matthews is plus 125, I'll shake your hand and say, I think that makes sense. But I'm going to have to reluctantly pass on this fight entirely, play the under 2.5 or Andre Fialho because everybody's on Jake Matthews. You see my problem? How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I see. I'm actually with you 100%. Like, I see your problem, and I'm in it as well. I'm debating what's the line that I hit Fialho at. We were talking about this on the Lambo Spaces with Narco and Pepe. Like, it's kind of a sneaky. This was their plays. I was on the round 3 props for Jake. Just like a little bit. I think it's a good possibility if Fialho does gas a little bit in the third round that
He a gas bag.
Maybe the sub is live there for him in the third. At the same time, I feel like Fialho is going to be dangerous enough in the first round and wins the first round, and then I also feel like he could also like just win the second round and then just kind of death gas but not die, and then win a decision, and it's one of those plus 600 I think is his points line right now, and then plus like for a split decision is like a ludicrous line, like plus 2,200 or something like that. So I mean, I do think he's like KO1 is his normal path. So if you wanted to hit up like KO1 and points, I think that's not a bad look for Fialho as well. So yeah, I mean, plus 600 for points. I know that he doesn't go to decision. I mean, like he was super close to beating Pereira and by decision too. So I think plus 600 is a really good line. So they talked.
How was that fight aged? I mean, like,
right.
I feel like nobody talks about it, but it's like, yeah, he went tooth and nail with that top 10 welterweight. Like,
was he on short notice too for that too?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
short notice UFC
really
debut.
Good. Looks good.
Performed really admirably as a big dog. I'm totally with you there, Tim. I think that speaks volumes about how the UFC views him as well. Look at Jake Matthews. In fairness, kind of on some obscure UFC cards, fighting guys that they don't know what the fuck to do with anymore. Diego Sanchez's of the world, right? Like, where do they match up this guy? Then I think they made the decision. Let's start giving him to our prospects. I think he could get beat. So they give him the Sean Brady. He's supposed to be a grappler. He gets thoroughly out grappled. I know that Sean Brady is the class of the grappling right now in the lower tier of the 170, right? You got Gilbert Burns up top. You got my man Sean Brady, grit and guillotines kicking it in the back half there. I think that they've kind of showed their hand a little bit. Like, they don't really believe in Jake Matthews long-term. I don't believe as a prospect. And so for that reason, they're like, hey, Fialho, you good to go again in 2 weeks, my brother? Yeah, Jake, what are you doing on Sunday? Like, for me, that's how the conversation went. They went, who can we get for Andre Fialho this weekend? Maybe not. Who can we find to fight Jake Matthews and build him up on this card? I don't think the conversation is necessarily going like that at UFC headquarters. But that being said, guys, we got a fight that's much bigger, that's got much more eyeballs and attention on it. And that is going to be in the women's strawweight division, a rematch of one of the greatest fights that we have ever seen. And as we're going to break it down right here, go ahead and drop a like on this video. Go ahead and get subscribed to the channel. We got 65 of you guys rocking with us live right now, and appreciate each and every one of you guys. So go ahead and do us that little favor. Go ahead and find my man Tim on Twitter if you haven't already. All his information is in that description box below, and go show a little love. We're here grinding it out. It's 1:23 a.m. on the East Coast. So appreciate you guys for sticking with us, and I truly do thank you for that support. But my man Tim, we've got Weili Zhang, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. They're going to do it again. Joanna has been waiting for this chance. She's been rested up. She's been on the sidelines, and she's coming back to take on Zhang Weili, who is coming off the back of pretty decisive fights in her career. Important fights, series that didn't go her way. Flukish knockout. You can't really take too much away from her there. Got kicked, got caught. Could happen to anybody. Second fight, I bet her there. I bet her in the first fight with Rose. Bet her in the second fight. Thought she won that fight. Could be a little biased. Not gonna go too heavy on that take. Thought she won there. Bet Joanna the first time they fought. Thought she won there. I haven't had a great time with these split decisions over the last year, Tim, as you are aware. However, what I think is certainly interesting to me about this fight is that we're going from 5 rounds to 3 rounds, and that is definitely going to create a new dynamic here. First and foremost, I'm going to lead with this. Prize Picks, my second Prize Picks play of the day, under 81.5 significant strikes on Zhang Weili. Reason I'm taking that under, twofold. Number one, Joanna Jędrzejczyk has conceded that total of strikes 5 times in 12 UFC bouts. Every one of those bouts was a 5-round championship fight, okay? So she's never conceded it in a 3-round context, period. Then when you look at Zhang Weili, she has only eclipsed that number, I think, twice in 7 UFC outings. Both of those were 5-round appearances, including the last time she fought Joanna. So I think that people are looking and saying like, oh my God, like they're going to just go to war, go to town on each other. Maybe. And if they do, maybe she'll come close to that number. But more often than not, I don't think she covers that number in a 15-minute affair. You look at Joanna Jędrzejczyk's defense, some of the best on the card. Like by the numbers, she faces like 8 significant strikes per minute and gets hit with 3 of them. It's like people miss a lot throwing at Joanna. And when they do hit her, it tends to be with that left hook. What I think is a big problem for Weili Zhang in this fight is that in the early rounds of the last fight, Joanna was getting off on more volume. In addition, Joanna was getting off on more combinations. So like Weili would get off on a 1 or 2 strike counter at the end of a 2 or 3 or 4 piece combination setup from Joanna. So you look at their, striking statistics, you just like run those out. Joanna should beat her based on the analytics that I have in striking based contests more often than not, depending on whether or not Zhang is able to hurt her, right? Like the first time she was able to create huge damage. And I felt like even though Joanna was winning exchanges, her face looked worse. The damage looked worse. So she wasn't going to get any benefit of a doubt there. Whereas in this fight, there's less time for the damage to accumulate. So it's possible that she gets some damage like worn up, but I don't think it's going to be decisive necessarily in the same way that it was in the first contest. I thought by rounds 4 and 5, Joanna would have had to like drop her with punches to win the round because she looked so bad, visibly. That being said, my man, Zhang Weili, the other reason I like her under, last time out, she was out there shooting takedowns. She looked like a different fighter. She looked like she was not just going to try and kickbox. She looked like she was going to try and implement a grappling-based approach against Rose Namajunas. What's to say she's not going to at least attempt more takedowns in this fight with Joanna? I think Joanna's comprehensive, pretty good defensive grappler. But I do have this open question mark in my head where, let's say Weili gets on top of her. Are we still hitting that 81.5 significant strike total? I don't think so. I think Weili is going to be a lot more conservative from the top position, try and hold on, try and bank rounds, try and get some time, on the top position. Whereas I don't think she's just going to be opening up with strikes from top position and give Joanna an easy chance to get back to her feet. So with all that being said, I like the under 81.5 on PrizePicks for a prop projection this week, under on Weili Zhang. And I don't have a play on this fight otherwise. I think that if I was to get there from a money line perspective, I would probably have to side with Joanna. But again, I do think that Joanna seems like a pretty popular underdog play this week. Not to say that she's not going to win. There's a couple popular underdogs this week. I'm sure at least one of them is going to come through. But I do think that I don't like the lack of activity. I do think it's going to benefit her chin. I think if somebody's more likely to get caught and knocked out in this fight, it actually might be Weili because she's been the one in there incurring more and more damage in the interim. However, the more natural power also rests with Weili. I think that it's interesting to me, the training dynamic for this fight. I believe Weili trained for this fight in Thailand, which is something she's not done for any UFC bout before. And I do think sometimes you see a little bit of a transition period for somebody moving to a new team. So I have a lot of open question marks about what approach we're going to see from Zhang Weili. I also just think that I have lost too much money betting on Zhang Weili at this point that I have basically like closed the gap on this because I feel like she's put herself in positions to win fights, but not made it decisive enough for me to continue to back her, especially if she's going to continue to be chalk prices. I liked her at that underdog tag. I did think she beat Rose Namajunas, but now it's back to paying that price, paying that tag, paying that chalk on a girl who has been knocked out in the first round, who has lost, I think, she's been on the wrong side of a split decision. She's been in 2 close split decisions. I thought she could have lost both of them in fairness. So I just have too many questions about Weili to be backing her at chalk at this stage in her career. Because I do think a lot of her, credibility in the division is parlayed from a 45-second knockout of Jessica Andrade in kind of asinine fashion in a fight that was booked on like 4 weeks notice or something. So I think all of that leads me to say it's probably a dog or pass situation. And I will just give this one disclaimer. The boost that I'm seeing on this fight is Weili Zhang by knockout. I've seen it boosted at a few different places. That makes me concerned if I was to be on the Weili side. That makes me think it's more likely to be a Weili decision in this spot. Or if you want to put on a tinfoil hat like my man Clint, what about a submission here? Joanna, I don't think has ever been submitted in MMA, but you want to make a statement and get that next title shot, make people forget about Marina Rodriguez. You strap up that rear naked choke and send her back to retirement. Maybe Zhang Weili's looking to do something like that this weekend. But again, too many open questions for me. Tim, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I was on Rose both times against Weili. I thought, the second fight, I actually thought Rose lost too. I thought she was down three rounds, the first 3 rounds. And so I got lucky on that one. But I feel like the 3 rounds helps Zhang more than Joanna. I also feel like these fights are never this. They're just rarely the same kind of fight when you see people rematch. So I tend to think like Joanna's going to fight differently, and I think that could change the dynamic of the fight a lot. That if she doesn't really engage and she fights way more conservatively, that she can pick her shots and get in and out against Weili, and Weili is going to want to brawl and want to get in the pocket with her. And if she doesn't let that happen, I think she could dance around and make this a very frustrating fight for Weili. So at the same time, I feel like, it's not too clear. So it's like either way, which fighter is going to really dominate in this fight? It's like, I don't think either one's going to dominate. So say it stays standing. I mean, the props for me always in this situation, if you're going to go women's MMA, probably going the distance, probably standing for 14, 15 minutes, not a lot of control time. Like split decisions are just like no brainers in these types of fights. Like 7-1 and 9-1 for Weili is 7-1 and Joanna's 9-1. I think those are great looks. You can also match them up with the points, and you're getting plus numbers on every single one. So it's pretty tough unless somebody finishes somebody, you're going to make money. So yeah.
Hey, the normal people out there, the people that consume pop culture, they have Better Call Saul. We have Better Call Sal D'Amato and ask him in advance, hey, Sal, who's the fix-in on, my brother? Because we're getting a split decision, like my man Tim said, and only Sal's got the right answer. So y'all better get on there, start harassing this guy, find out who the right side is, and then let me know. I'm going to be slamming that split decision prop with my man Tim and hoping for the very best there. But truly a fight that I'm excited to watch, but not a fight that I'm excited to bet on. I think there's a lot of open questions, just like that one look on PrizePicks, as mentioned. And if I end up getting to another play, you guys will be the first to know. But as of now, I'm going to let that fight pass me by because I've already got my eyes set on this co-main event of the evening. Guys, I've dropped a hot take on this fight already. I did it on Roto Grinders Premium this week. I have it in my track plays on Bet MMA Tips. So just going to say it. I got Talia Santos this weekend. All good things must come to an end. That's the way I described it. And it's not to say it's a lock, put in your 10-unit bets, this is a guarantee. It's none of those things, right? You're betting against somebody who is prolifically priced as a 80% favorite in all of her fights. So you know that going in. Why am I betting Talia Santos in this fight? I'm going to try and simplify it. Talia Santos is the first physical woman, the first strong, athletic, gifted fighter that she's going to fight in some time. And I'm talking about Shevchenko, that is. Lauren Murphy, with all due respect, was, on the other side of a minus 1,800 price tag for a reason. She wasn't going to win the fight. It was not going to be competitive. There was no area of the fight where Lauren was going to make it competitive. Jennifer Maia is not dangerous. Jennifer Maia, even when she had a great position, a great spot, did nothing to make her in fear, did nothing to hurt her, did nothing to damage her, just laid on her and waited and waited and waited. So more power to her. But what it showed me is that there's gaps, there's holes to be filled, there's space for another fighter to get off on attacks here. And they haven't been. They haven't been capable physically. They haven't been capable emotionally and spiritually. They don't want to come forward and fight this girl. I think Talia Santos is going to bring a fight to this girl. So what I can expect is that I am signing up for a girl who is not expected to win at all. But what she is going to bring is physicality, youth, and violence. think she's going to come out here and try to hurt her. I think she's going to try to finish her. I think she's going to try to submit her. I don't think she's going to try and pitter patter with her for 25 minutes and see who's better at, exchanging at range leg kicks like Liz Carmouche, right? So it's like most of these fighters have been in their mid to late 30s and they're looking to eke a decision in a fight that they know they otherwise have no chance to win. This is a fighter who believes in herself, who believes in her skills, and as far as I can tell, she has basic core competencies everywhere and plus level athleticism in a division full of soccer moms. So with the respect that is due, these are a lot of people that are on their way out, looking at other careers, looking at what else they're going to do. Talia Santos is 28. She has been doing this since she was 16. That's 12 years in the game. She has been putting in time, effort, and energy. She has put together a pretty competent Muay Thai game. It's not the world's greatest you've ever seen, but she has real power, and it's women's MMA. So a girl with real power, real physicality, who has good enough grappling to go with black belts like Jillian Robertson and not get submitted and pass the guard and look okay, and Roxanne Modafferi, who many prospects stumble against. Everybody wants to give her shit. I know. It's Roxy. I know. She's 40. I get all that. But she is a grappler that has made a lot of people look bad and silly, including Macy Barbers of the world, right? So physical young prospects have stumbled on that block before, not Talia Santos. Everybody wants to talk about, Joanne Wood. She keeps getting finished in the first round. Yeah, but this is the girl who set it off. She was like, hey, sit down. Oh, get back up, sit down again. You don't like that? How about I wrap a hold of your neck 6 times in a row and finish you brutally? That was there was no niceties about that. That was a brutal finish. I think that she is a violent I think she's a violent girl capable of winning this fight. So at plus 450, I'm taking the shot, and it's that simple. Tim, how do you feel?
I hate being on the other side as you, man. Usually we take some of these. We look at these pretty similarly. I'm on Valentina. It's tough. I mean, obviously, she's so great. It's tough not to be like high on her in every single fight that she fights. Obviously. I think the respect is there in the line for Santos. I think that's pretty clear that, people are betting her. This is not a situation where they're betting her just because it's, you're getting a plus 1,000 or whatever. So I think there's legitimacy to your arguments. I do also think that there's major levels to this. And I think that the style of fight that like Shevchenko could go out with and say like, okay, it's this weird tactic that she does, like tactics that she uses where she'll actually go to the strengths of people and she'll break them by beating them at their own game and beating them in their own strengths. And I feel like later on after the first 2 rounds, I feel like if Santos hasn't had much success and Valentina has had success, excuse me, I would think that the face on Santos is going to be like, oh my God, I have a fighter for another 15 minutes and instead of 5, I'm going to die. So I can see rounds 3, rounds 4, rounds 5 for Valentina. And I can also see her potentially even subbing her. It's one of those weird things where like, I love betting Valentina by sub and I love losing money on Valentina by sub because, it's usually a line that's way off compared to the KO prop. But I just do see
the last person she submitted was Priscilla Cachoeira.
Right? No joke. It's not been fun. It's been burning money. But no, I usually do the inside the distance props with her, and then I'll hit up the sub. But I do think that she gets her out in round 3 through 5, and I do think that she's not necessarily going to look that bad grappling with her. So if that happens, but we'll see. I mean, that's one of those things too, like you said, like. You'd rather be ahead of the train than behind it at this situation and getting on this thing early. And you do this really, really well in picking these long shots ahead of everybody. So I'm rooting for you. I don't have anything big on Valentina yet, but I'm going to put some little bit of money on the rounds 3 through 5.
I think that makes sense. I think that if Santos, gasses out at the end of this fight, certainly that's when Valentina's path to a finish becomes most live. I wanted to address this one in particular, though, because this is the pushback I've gotten most frequently. This is the argument people made with Jessica Andrade. All right, let's run through this real quick. Jessica Andrade, 5'1" tall, okay? 62 inches of reach. So, yes, Jessica Andrade, you might have heard this argument from me, and then Jessica Andrade went out there and got smushed. And the thing that I learned there was, okay, we're going to need size. We're going to need physicality. It's simply not going to work if you're taking a straw weight and bringing him up. By the way, she's done that a number of times. She fought a bunch of straw weights. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Jessica Andrade, and then a bunch of, again, not trying to be disrespectful, but the Lauren Murphy soccer mom type characters, the Jessica I soccer mom type characters. Again, how about the fact that when I look back at the fact that she has been taken down a number of times by Jennifer Maia. She got taken down, I believe, and now I'm drawing a blank. Pena took her down and controlled her from top position for a while. So it's not like I'm saying Santos is a lock, take it to the bank. I'm sure of this. I'm saying I'm playing potential, right? Credentials say it's going to be a runaway for Valentina. I look at the two fighters and I say I don't see that because Valentina normally bails herself out with grappling success. And against Jessica Andrade, I was super impressed because she made it look so easy. But Jessica is tiny. So she literally took her down and just bodied her. Jessica wasn't even physically able to offer anything. This is a girl who's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. She's going to have a 1-inch height advantage. She's not going to be 3 inches shorter and 3 inches less in reach. She's going to be bigger. She's actually going to be the same size and the same strength. I think when you look at Jessica Andrade next to Talia Santos, you'll see the difference. They don't look anything alike. Like it's like Talia Santos looks like she could be her mother or something. She's much bigger. She's much stronger looking. She looks like an athlete. So I'm happy to be wrong about this one. If I'm wrong about this one, God bless, but when she loses, I'm going to be there. That's my plan. And on top of that, 34 years old versus 28 years of age. All the biggest fights for this woman are at another weight class. They're not at this weight class. What are her big fights in the division? I'm sure you know, Tim, but if people out there don't know, it's a rematch with Amanda Nunes. It's a rematch with Juliana Pena, the champion. So when I look at that, I say to myself, there's reasons for the UFC to want her to go up. There's reasons for the UFC to want to build this 125-pound division and move on. What would it create? Parity. It would create parity. There's all these new up-and-comers. Alexa Grasso is now a title challenger. That's interesting. As opposed to the next fodder for Valentina who gets smashed instantly, and then we all don't care about the fight and move on. So it's not to say that it's a lock. None of that. But anytime you give me a massive price tag on somebody that I think is talented, that I think's being underlooked, I'm going to have to play it. So you give me a plus 450 on somebody who I think is being underappreciated like Talia Santos, I'm going to take that shot every time. I'm going to live with the results. I have a 48% ROI on big underdogs. I'm going to put that out there and say, that doesn't mean I get them all right. I'm hitting them at 30-something%. I'm not hitting them at 100%. But this willingness to take risks is what has defined my betting style. It's what's made me a profitable sports bettor. So I'm willing to be wrong and look stupid. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to lose money. That being said, I can move on to the main event here because this is another fight where I'm excited to either make money or look dumb. And the reason being is I got a strong take on this one, my man. So I'm going to kick this one to you. We've got an elite main event here. It should be hella fun. It should be violent as shit. It should not go the distance as far as I'm concerned. We've got a absolute overachiever. Like what else could you say besides a marvel of human achievement? We have Glover Teixeira basically scratch, clawed, sacrifice, blood, sweat, tears, whatever you need to do to make himself viable to be in this position. He kept calling to Dana White after he beat these young guys. Hey, give me a chance. Give me this opportunity. In the cage, he was saying, I deserve another shot. Gets a 5-fight win streak where he is literally high rolling, like I'm half on one leg and wobbling, and I come back and I get the takedown and I finish you. If you guys watch that Thiago Santos fight back for your tape study on this event, you guys know what I know, which is that Glover Teixeira was basically out in round 3. He got knocked down. He was like laying up, looking at the ceiling. Thiago Santos is like bouncing him back awake. And then he literally sat up to a single leg, took his back and finished him. So I was like, how do you hate on this guy? You can't. You got to love Glover Teixeira. You have to respect Glover Teixeira. If you don't do that, you're a piece of shit. But with that being said, this is another one of those instances. He's my friend Jake Matthews right now. He's just a guy that I have. In fact, now I'm going to have to separate. He's nothing like Jake Matthews. Okay, I don't bet Jake Matthews. I have been betting Glover Teixeira over and over as people tell me, how are you wasting money on this old man? Like he's going to get killed. It's Thiago Santos. He's got a hammer on his chest. How could Glover win? Or how about the freaking last one, Jan Blachowicz? Betting lines will never cease to amaze me, right? You get Jan Blachowicz as an underdog in like every fight he's ever had. And then he fights somebody who's, frankly, a stylistic nightmare for him. Like, Jan Blachowicz does not like people that aggressively grapple him. Go back and watch his whole career. He's never liked it. He never liked it once, and he tries to grapple you back, and if it doesn't work, he's like, all right, fuck you got me. I think that was exactly what happened to him in that fight. He got can openered from the bottom. He was getting controlled. He was getting embarrassed. Honestly, that was what was really pissing him off. He was doing well on the feet. He got jacked up with a left hook because he got a little overconfident, a little overzealous, and he was getting dominated on the ground. So Jan Blachowicz basically just threw in the towel. I'm all good on this. These are all his age contemporaries, and I think that's being missed here. He's beating 38-year-old Thiago Santos. He's beating almost 39 years old Jan Blachowicz to get this title belt. Now he's got to defend it the first time against a 29-year-old named Jiri Prochazka. And I know what you guys are saying about Talia Santos. She's 28 years old. She really doesn't have that kind of experience at this level. So I'm buying into potential. I'm buying into what I see on tape. I'm buying into these physical attributes and dynamism. That's not the case here. Jiri Prochazka has a really developed game outside the UFC. So if people can say what they want about Jiri gets taken down, yes, he does get taken down. But he wasn't getting taken down and instantly finished in all these fights. If you go back and watch them, he's fought very competent wrestlers, wearing wrestling shoes, might I add. Like, guys in Japan taking him down with the wrestling shoes on, should have all the traction in the world. Guys took his back. Guys were hitting him from the turtle, beating him up. Carl Albertsons of the world. Bunch of guys who were big, strong, physical around his age. He outlasted them, outworked them, got back up to his feet, and beat the shit out of them. And the other thing that he did is a lot of fights, nobody got him down at all because he threw a flying knee or he threw an uppercut or he threw something crazy and he hurt them really badly and made them do a dance and then he knocked them out. So when I look at this guy, Jiri Prochazka, he's extremely dangerous, right? And I think that he's got tremendous power. I think that he's got decent enough game for what he's trying to do here. He needs to hit Glover and hit him hard as shit and not follow him to the ground. Or if he does follow him to the ground, finish instantly, like Anthony Johnson did. And that's why I know it can be done. This has happened to him before. I think that Noah is kind of on the money here. Round one flying knee. I don't see why not. I certainly don't see why not. Round one uppercut. I don't see why not. These are the skills that he actually has. The thing that I think people are missing about this fight is that this isn't the first time somebody's wanted to take down Jiri Prochazka. Everyone who's ever wanted to fight this guy has wanted to take him down because he's fucking scary on the feet. You guys seen Dom Reyes shoot many takedowns? He was like, let's wrestle, bitch. Like, I'd rather do anything else than fight you on the feet because he was getting fucked up really bad. He was getting hit with every hard shot. And here's what else I saw about Jiri. Unless you knock this guy out, unless you choke him until he is sleeping, he's not quitting. It's just not happening. I have seen him in terrible positions, beaten up, bloody, bruised, battered, keep fighting. I have seen him rocked, wobbled, stumbled, falling all over the place, and knock you out. That's a tough guy to beat. And at 29 years of age, you can afford to take a hard shot on the chin, recover, and keep coming forward. At 42 years of age, you can't afford to keep doing that. And Glover Teixeira has been doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And eventually that thread is going to run thin. And I have cashed him all the way up here. But now, when I see a man who is at his literal fucking, like, every goal and dream he ever set in life, he just achieved. And now they're saying, hey, come fight this guy who's a murderer, who's really scary, and, go do it for the same paycheck and do it for none of the same, esteem and rewards because you already got that. And you can't get any more well-liked by your peers. Everybody loves you. He's saying to you before the fight, this is my last year of fighting. He's saying to you, I've achieved my goals and dreams. I want to be a UFC champion. I sacrificed everything my whole life, and I did it. Do you think he wants to keep sacrificing more? I don't think so. I think Glover knows what's good for the business, and it's not him retiring. It's him going out there and putting it on the line like he always has. And I think he's going to give an honest account of himself. I would not be surprised if he hit Jiri with a hard punch here. But truthfully, I think that when Jiri touches him, this fight is over. I think Yuri's going to hit him. I think he's going to hurt him very badly. I would not be surprised to see this end in the first round. So I'm on Jiri. I'm on Jiri inside the distance. I'm on Jiri round 1 knockout plus 290. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, that's the way. I mean, I think it's such a good fight to hedge in so many different ways as well. Like if the lines on Glover are beautiful to hedge. So you have like what is his path? I mean, his path is first round, second round, get him down on the ground, sub him or ground and pound, right? Like, so like you get Glover at 11-1, I think sub 1. I think you get 17-1 sub 2. You get 20-1 and 30-1 on KO 1, KO 2. So you can like sprinkle those really light, and then you could just hammer the KO 1 and KO 2 for Jiri, because I just don't see this fight seeing round 3 for all the same reasons that you're saying. Like it's two different styles, and one is going to absolutely, he's going to what they're going to do. I mean, they're very predictive. You don't see those like outlier fights in these guys' fights. They're the same type of archetype fights each time. So that being said, like fight doesn't start round 3 is like minus 140 or something like that. I like that minus or add the sub prop round 1 for Glover 11-1. I love those. I mean, the KO 1 is going to be the KO 1 and KO 2 are going to be the biggest ones that I bet for Jiri. I really do think as well as you do that he gets him out pretty early. I'm like the same thing with the sub 1 with Glover is that I do feel like you're going to want him to stand up. Like as soon as if he knocks him down, I don't want him to go down to the ground with him at all. Like I just would rather see him just stand back up and I'll just hit you again until you go down. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. I feel like Jiri gets the KO pretty early.
I love it. And I think that Jiri is like a artist of violence. He picks his shots very well. I thought that Dom Reyes fight was a revelation, truly, because I bet Dom Reyes in that fight, like 1 unit at plus 110 or something like that. I was like, man, you got to prove it to me. He goes out there and absolutely nukes him, beat the shit out of him, beat him up with shots to the body, beat him up to the legs, beat him up to the head. Dom Reyes looked a mess. He was trying everything in his power. That was the gutsiest performance you'll see from somebody in the UFC. Like Dom Reyes wanted nothing more than to win that fight, to find a way back in. He got on top of him. He kicked him in the head. He just couldn't get him out of there. He could not break his will. And Jiri is a prop. Like the way he knocked out Volkan Ozdemir is shocking. Like you don't see people get hit like that in the UFC. The guy is not doing a normal weight transfer. He's throwing every ounce of himself into every punch. And when they land, people get fucked up. And I've seen him knock people cold in Ryzen. I really think that this guy is dangerous. I think when the UFC is looking for somebody to market, they go, hey, Jiri Prochazka, you come be our champion, buddy. Like, please, please, please take this title belt from the old man. Like that for me is how the UFC is marketing this. They want everybody to respect Glover. He deserves that respect, but they're using, I believe, the respect and the admiration for Glover Teixeira to sell you a new product. And his name is Jiri Prochazka. He's a dangerous man with 2 big fan bases from his local market, the Czech Republic, from Japan. He comes over as a star from the Ryzen promotion. And people talk about he got face planted by King Mo in a multi-night tournament where he beat Vadim Nemkov. It's like, yeah, if we're going to say it, let's say the whole thing. Let's really talk about it then. Because I think that people want to talk about, I don't know about I don't know, man. I watched a lot of martial arts from around the world. This guy looks like he's the goods to me. So I'm excited to see what he can pull off, man. I love Glover Teixeira, fucking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu forever. But I think that, timing, styles, they're all important. And the last statistic I want to leave you guys with tonight is this. If you have somebody who is a 13-year age gap younger than their opponent, they're winning at a 68% clip over the sample size of the UFC. If you have a favorite who is younger and there's a 13-year age gap in the matchup, right now, in a 95 fight sample size, 72% of the time, the younger fighter is winning that fight. Just want to say that without commentary. You guys take that for whatever it's worth. That's part of my rationale in getting to the window here with Jiri Prochazka. But with that being said, we did it. 69 of you guys in here. Yesterday was my birthday, 6/9/1998. Good number. Perfect way to end off a great week. It's been a great birthday week. It's been a great fight week. And I think tomorrow night, we're going to get an absolutely amazing payoff at UFC 275. 2 great title fights, another amazing rematch of a world-class fight. and a loaded undercard with a lot of finishing potential, with a lot of fun fights, a lot of violent spots, a lot of great props that my man Tim dropped for us today as well. So Tim, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for breaking down this card for the people. Please let them know, where can they find you, all the great work that you're doing, and anything that you want to get off your chest.
Man, this has been great. Thanks so much for having me on. Can't wait to do this again with you. This has been a blast. Yeah, I do spaces on Twitter with on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and then I do Narco Cops Lambo plays on Fridays. He's been getting ready to move, so we've been doing them on spaces, but we'll be getting back to YouTube pretty soon, most likely. And then we do recaps. I love the next tomorrow. I don't know if anybody does those live spaces with Narco and John Martian. They're really profitable. Every time they give some really great live lines, things like that, live bets. So I'll probably be on that tomorrow as well. So thanks again for the opportunity. It's been great.
Awesome, man. Love it. And Tim, we've been waiting to have you on, brother. It's always a pleasure getting to chop up these fights with you. Shout out to our man Narco Cop, like you mentioned. Great guy in the space. Really somebody you guys should be learning from. Follow Narco if you don't already. And truly, guys, appreciate each and every one of you guys for rocking with us. 64 of you guys made it till 2 a.m. You guys are soldiers. You guys are the late night crew. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. Go ahead and drop a like on this video on the way out here. Go ahead and get subscribed to the channel, because you know that we come back and have all the same fun each and every week for you guys. And on top of that, I'm very excited. Me and my man Fimble, we've been, a little bit wires crossed in terms of getting this on the calendar for you guys, but absolutely going to be doing a video, 5 more lessons about betting on MMA. And Fimble is one of the smartest guys that nobody talks about. I think if you guys haven't already, you should be following him as well. But really excited to have that conversation. So get subscribed. You're not going to want to miss it at all. One of the smartest guys out there for picking these bets. So guys, all that being said, we've done it. We have another great show in the can for all of you guys. Truly appreciate you. For my great sponsors at PrizePicks, thank you guys in advance. If you check it out, all the information you need is in the description box below. Go ahead and use my promo code Liam. They will deposit match you 100% up to $100. I tried to tell you guys on Twitter today, get that free square. Jason Tatum over 0.5 points. Easy money. Going to be cashing out some more coin from my friends at PrizePicks, and I hope you guys all do the same. As for tomorrow, my 2 PrizePicks projections were Kyung-Ho Kang over 1.5 takedowns, and we've got the under for Weili Zhang on 81.5 significant strikes. That is the PrizePicks play that I am rolling with personally. So if you guys tail me, best of luck to you. If you fade me, God bless you. I'm still rooting for you because it's all of us good guys versus the bookies each and every week. Thank you guys for your time. Come back next week. We're going to have all the same fun again. See you then.